We spoke to Omar Barghouti. He is a prominent Palestinian human rights defender and co-founder of the Boycott, Divestment and Sanction movement.
Well, it's not just a tense time, it's a time of genocide. Much of the world, including the Organization of Islamic Cooperation just last night, to see what Israel is doing to Palestinians, cutting off water, food, electricity, and continuously indiscriminate bombardment and massacres, including at the hospital, the Baptist hospital in Gaza, killing hundreds of Palestinians, as war crimes that amount to the crime of genocide. Now the world, human rights organizations are realizing that this is genocidal. More than 800 international law and genocide studies scholars have said, we accuse Israel of committing genocidal acts. This has to be investigated. So it's not precarious, it's not tense, it's acts of genocide. That's what's happening on the ground, and it has to be framed that way. The second point is that from an ethical perspective, we've got to remember there is no violence without oppression. Oppression is the root cause of violence. If we, like we in the BDS movement, a nonviolent human rights movement, if you want to end all violence, let's start by addressing the root causes of violence. 75 years of settler colonialism and apartheid, that is the beginning of violence. So when Biden says he will send us some band-aids after being a partner in genocide, no less, this is beyond insult. This is beyond something that's unethical. He's just laughing at the whole world, vetoing a UN resolution that is so horrible, yet called for some break, in some minimal break in the attacks, and he vetoed it. The whole world stands against the US administration in its extremely bloodthirsty position, including the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Arab League, many in the Global South, China, increasingly Latin America, African states. And within the West, it's very important to point out yesterday, Jewish Voice for Peace in the United States, 500 Jewish Americans occupied a building in Congress to call for stopping the genocide, ceasefire now, not in our name. A beautiful show of meaningful solidarity and showing that it's not us versus them as a tribal Muslims versus I don't know what. It's pro-liberation, pro-justice, pro-freedom, or those against liberation, against justice, against freedom. This is ethnic cleansing, as the UN Special Rapporteur said. This is ethnic cleansing. Televised ethnic cleansing. It's not something that you read in the paper, you're watching it on TV. Israel has ordered the evacuation of 1.1 million. Hundreds of thousands cannot leave, possibly. And the United Nations said that it's impossible. It's a humanitarian catastrophe. That is ethnic cleansing. And some governments are standing by, supporting this, arming Israel while it's doing this. The UK, the US are extremely complicit in those acts of genocide. So is the EU and much of Europe. So it's very, very important at this point that India steps up and joins the rest of the Global South in taking a clear position. Now, the most profound moral obligation is to stop Israel's genocidal war, to stop the complicity. And silence is complicity. Equivocating between oppressor and oppressed is complicity.